All right, guys, welcome to triggering a drip or an automation. There's a few different ways to do it, and I'm going to show you each of those ways when we get to the pipeline section. Make sure you watch the pipeline videos to understand how to add automations or drips to your pipeline statuses, but I'll show you how this works, okay? So there's two main ways to trigger a one-on-one drip, and then there's a way to do like a bulk trigger of a drip to a list, and I'll show you how to do the two ways to do that. And then there's really one way to trigger it, or two ways to trigger a drip for a pipeline as well. So there's two ways to do it for each of these, and I'll go over it. The first way to trigger a drip is a one-on-one. So if you're in your Agency Elephant account and you pull up a lead, hit enter, it pulls up that lead contact view here. The first way to trigger it is by assigning the drip to the lead itself, okay? So to trigger a drip, you have to put the person in the group that triggers the automation. All drips are triggered based upon putting the people into the group that triggers the automation. So you shouldn't have, and groups are located here, this is your SMS drips under tools. These are the groups that trigger all of these campaigns. You shouldn't have multiple drips set up on the same group because it will trigger them at the same time. So you want to make sure your groups are segmented out so that they're different groups triggering different drips. I like to use the name of the group and the name of the drip is the same, so it's simple. So when you copy or move somebody into this group, it will trigger that automation, okay? So let's use the Home No Auto as an example. If I copy or move a lead into the Home No Auto BFY, it stands for Built For You, it will trigger this sequence of drips to fire out, the verbiage and everything. You cannot change the verbiage after you trigger the drip, so make sure you're acceptable or that you accept that verbiage first before you trigger the copy move group, okay? So let's go back to the lead profile. Now to trigger this, all I have to do is come to the Actions button. And in the Actions button, I'm going to copy and move lead, okay? This is how I trigger an automation. Copy is very important. This will add, and we'll use the Auto No Home BFY. As soon as I hit enter, it copies that group. I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to refresh the page so you can see it. Now we've got Auto No Home, and as you can see, it added this group to the stack. They're in prospects and they're in Auto No Home. Technically, if this person is in Auto No Home, they should be in Customer. As you can see, I simply hit that little X button to remove the group. If there is a group, like for example this one, Auto No Home, this triggers automation. If there is a group that the person is in the automation, you want to stop that automation, you simply remove the group from the profile. Once they're removed from the group, the future automations stop, okay? Now, automations also stop in other ways, and we'll go through that in drip settings, in the video for drip settings. And basically with groups, to trigger a drip, you have to understand that I need to copy that person into the correct group to trigger that automation. Once I hit enter, or I click it and once I click it and hit copy, we're good to go, right? So if I'm going to copy somebody into the claims follow-up, I hit this, and we're good to go. And if I refresh this page, you'll see over here that this lead is in those two groups now, okay? Now, move is also important to understand. Move means I am going to remove all groups this person is in and put them into the one group I'm moving them in. This disconnects all of your groups and puts them into the new one. So if I put somebody into the Customer BFY group and I move them, it's going to disconnect that lead from all the other groups and put them just into one. Okay, this is the first way to trigger a drip. You simply copy or move them into the respected group that is going to trigger that drip you're trying to trigger. And this is how you do it on a one-to-one basis, one-on-one drip or automation triggering. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The second way to do that is actually in your contact manager. This is basically your entire CRM of all of your contacts, prospects, customers, everybody in your system. If you want to trigger a drip onto an individual, you simply just type in that individual's name, hit enter. Here's our person. What I'm going to do is click the button and use the Actions tab. And I'm going to copy and assign a new group here. So in this case, I'm going to assign an aged lead campaign. And I'm going to pick copy or move, whichever I'm trying to do. I am going to move them so it disconnects all the groups associated with that lead. and now they will no longer be in that current customer BFY group. They'll be just in aged leads. Okay, that is the second way to trigger one-on-one drip campaigns. Okay, now let me clear this out so you can see everybody, and I'll show you how to trigger multiple drips on multiple people. You can do this with list triggers, or like importing a list over here, or you can do this by using your contact manager. So if you want to trigger a drip on specific sets of people, let's say, for example, I'm going to copy all of these people or move all of these people into a customer BFY group. Let's say these are all customers. I can simply check the box, select all, or select all here, right, and select all the leads. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to move all of these people into the customer's BFY. And I'm going to show you why I'm going to do that, because I want to show you a trick here, okay? If you are trying to trigger a bad weather campaign, or you need to notify all of your customer base information that isn't specific to the type of policy they have, it's just information you're trying to get to your entire customer database, best way to do that is to come into your system and you're saying, hey, I need to sort this entire contact view by everybody that is a customer BFY, that's customer built for you, is what we include in your account. Now that I have a list of all of my customers that are in that group, I am going to select all. And if you have more people in this than are on the page, which Lord willing you do, you're going to use this button because it will tell you how many leads were selected. Okay? And up here you can see selected 10 of 10. I'm going to use this action button, and I'm going to copy all of these people into the bad weather notification. And when I hit this copy button, it will copy everybody into it, and it will start that automation on all people. That is the first way to trigger a bulk automation. The second way to do it is by importing a list. This is for if you are triggering an aged lead list and you have a huge list of aged leads. We recommend you only do 250 at a time to not overwhelm yourself. This is how you trigger a bulk campaign on all your auto no homes, all your win backs, all your quotes not sold, etc. The way to do that is simply by following these steps, okay? First things is you gotta isolate the list. You have to know what the list is and all the data in the list is clean on what you're trying to import. So let's say it's a list of aged leads. You've got 250 aged leads you're gonna import into the system. Now, to trigger a drip, we have to put those people into the right group. So we are going to select the group that we're going to be using for this campaign. Aged leads or old leads BFY. It's our campaign in the Built For You for aged home leads. Okay. The next thing I'm going to also do is put these people into prospects BFY. And I always use the groups in the system, the ones that end in BFY, because there's a lot of campaigns tied to some of them, which are important. But customers and prospects won't trigger any campaigns because they're used for sorting. The only time you'll see those trigger campaigns is for life insurance if you have birthdays in accounts, okay? So customers and prospects, those are the two groups you should be using to sort your book of business correctly. Now that I picked the drip that I'm triggering and I picked the group that they're going to remain in consistently, so I know they're a prospect, now all I have to do is come over and select my file, okay? Once you select your file, I'm going to come over here and type CSV and see if I can pull up all my CSV. And here's a new test list, so I'm going to grab this one. All imports have to be a CSV document, okay? Once you've done that, you hit the I've read and you start the import. And under here, you'll notice, because the CSV had its headings correctly, so that it could grab the information and map it to our system correctly. If you want to watch a video on how to import your list correctly, we have a separate section in the knowledge base for you to do that. But this is simply to show you how to trigger drips in bulk. The second way to trigger drips in bulk, as we're going over, is through a list import. And you have to make sure all the info is mapping correctly. If there's a blue check mark, you're good. If there's not a blue check mark, it'll look something like this, because you're not mapping this information over. So you'd say, hey, what is this info? Well, this info is an email. Perfect. It should check the box. If it doesn't check the box and this is assigned, you're still okay. You want to make sure that your phone numbers are going to mobile so that you can text them. You want to make sure your last name is picked correctly and is mapping correctly, and your first name is mapping correctly. Next thing you're going to do is you are going to check this box. It says don't import data in unmatched columns. So if this is unmatched, you don't want to import that because it's blank. You're going to hit next. And then you're going to have 4 options. It's going to say keep existing data, meaning if you're changing data in a lead, mobiles, emails, etc. Do you want to keep the existing data in the profile or change it? Do you want to update the information in the profile with the new info? Do you want to append it, which means it won't change any existing data fields filled in, it will just add new ones? Or do you want to manually do it, which I always just do append. If they don't exist in the system, it'll create a new lead. If they do exist, it won't change anything, it will just add anything new that you're importing. Next thing is you hit finish import, and you're going to throw everybody that was in that list straight into the Age Leads campaign and straight into the prospects group. That is the second way to trigger automation in a bulk setting when you're triggering it via bulk. The first way is Contact Manager. Second way is via list. The last way to trigger automations is if you have your sales pipeline, which comes pre-built with automations attached to these pipeline statuses, or if you've edited your service pipeline to have automations attached. If you don't know what that is, haven't figured that out, watch our pipeline videos. It will train you on all of that. But currently, in our sales pipeline, your proposal and sales status will have 2 automations that fire off when you drag somebody into that status. So the first way to trigger a quote follow-up campaign is simply dragging them into the proposal status, hitting update and move. And this will change that lead's account to put them into a prospects BFY and into a quote follow-up BFY group. This will trigger your campaign. The second way to trigger a campaign by using pipelines, or not a campaign, but a drip or an automation, is over in the contact view here by simply clicking the pipeline and putting them into the bucket that will trigger that automation. Okay, that is the second way you can trigger a drip using your pipeline. Hope that helps. If you've got any questions, reach out to the Facebook page and Agency Elephant, or the Facebook group Agency Elephant Insurance Automation.